Hey Explorers, welcome to the very first episode of the brand new Explorcana show. This past weekend, we were at the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Las Vegas, Nevada. The main event was taken down by Zan Saeed, piloting his Emerald Steel mid-range deck. We were there hanging out all weekend, spoke with some of the people working the event, commentating, playing in the main event, or just playing in side events, or just hanging out, kind of like I was. So, yeah, let's get into it. Hi, I'm Hal. I'm at the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Vegas, and you're watching the Explorcana Show. All right, Explorers, I am here with Boomy and Towelmanpurple. You guys played a deck this weekend. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, we were playing Amber Steel Aggro Songs, and this is a deck that looks a lot like Steel Song until you look a little closer and see there are no aerials and there are only 12 songs. So I had this kind of idea. I've been playing Amber Steel Aggro for a long time, you know, and this set has felt better than any other set before. And I kind of had this idea. I said, what if we take all of the good things about Steel Song and take them out of the deck, and replace them with cards like Sven and more Lawrences and more Piglets. And a friend of mine said, I don't think that's a very good idea. And Manny said, I love it. Let's roll with it. So that's what we did. So we workshopped this list we landed on. Friday night? Friday night is when we settled on it.
Friday.
So this is a turn 'em sideways kind of deck. You want to play to the board. You want to get lore quickly. You want to end the game, as fast as you can. And then you have Whole New World and cards like Naveen to make very high tempo plays and just keep your gas coming.
I agree. I would say that in this deck, after we named it Boomology because it's after Boomy, because this guy's a genius. I would first like to say that. Secondly, I think the most powerhouse cards in this deck, obviously Rapunzel, number one, being able to draw cards is insane. Naveen, being able to sing anything that you want without having to exert your guy is also insane. Sven was one of the MVPs of the deck as well. Being able to be a pseudo bodyguard, but better because you don't have to have your guy exerted, is probably cream of the crop for me. And Pete is an absolute all-star in this deck. I would like to say that, to reiterate what Boomy said, it is literally turning cards sideways. It is just go, go, go.
Yeah, I don't think that 99% of people working on decks for this weekend would come to the conclusion of a Steel Song-ish deck without Ariel Spectacular Singer in it. So, yeah, I mean, that is crazy. And just looking at the list, like, almost everything quests for 2, unless it has, like, really powerful utility otherwise. Like, your 1-drop Cinderella, obviously it's just an insane singer. You got 1-drop Robin Hood just so you can get to your 2 questing big Robin Hood. Everything else, quest for 2, even Piglet quest for 3. And then, yeah, Pete with the utility. And, yeah, I mean, and then the bodyguard. So you went with, what's it called? Kita instead of Simba?
So we have the Kita bodyguard. She's the same card as Simba, but she also leads into Kita Protector of Atlantis that can shift on her. So that's just an alternate route to like shift and sing a whole new world. Kita also kind of has this really strong ability to protect your characters from opposing challenges. So it didn't really come up for me much this weekend. But like if your opponent has a big Tinkerbell and you play Kita, she's not killing anything. She's not getting the trigger. She really reduces the effectiveness of that character a lot. Same with cards if they have a board of like goat, crab, snake. None of that can challenge at all and deal damage. She's not very good into rush characters, but also if they're playing one rush character and only banishing one of your own characters, that's really not too bad. You still have a board. You can still quest next turn. Simba, I think we had considered the Simba shift line to get rid of locations and items, but he's cost 1 more to shift. I think he quests for 1 less.
He does.
Yeah. Kita is a liability against red decks, though, because she serves up your whole board to Sisu on a silver platter, so she'll just go straight into the Inkwell. But really, I think we designed this deck to kind of crush red decks, and that's how it worked out for me. I 4-0'd red-blue in the main event. Manny, I think, had a similar record against red decks.
Yeah, against the red decks, it was an absolute thrashing, for a lack of better words. I think there was one red-blue player that was able to split games. They had an immaculate start when they were on the play, but the red-blue decks, it was really, really good, and so were the red-purple matchups.
Yeah.
We were able to 2-0 multiple. I played two red-purples in the main event.
Yeah.
Now, I think the Kita shift line is really smart, and like you said, it could be weak against red decks, but then you just ink it against red decks, right? You don't have to go all in on it. But I mean, I think that's one of the sole weaknesses of a Steel Song deck in general. It's normally you have this big turn where you sing all these songs and all your characters are now exerted and vulnerable. But then if you go with the shift line of the Kita, then you're just well, the whole board's just neutral. So challenging's terrible. And I think another funny thing about this list is excluding the Aerial Spectacular Singer, so many people are gonna hold their answers and removal waiting for that card to come just to turn it off, turn off Whole New World, and then it just never does, and then you just shift a big guy and sing it anyway, and it's what happened? Right, so yeah. No, I really like that about the list. All right, so I mean, one final thing, what kind of results have you guys had with the list for the weekend?
So I played this list in the main event to a top 32 finish. Standings had posted, so I finished in 23rd overall. So I got the Let It Go, the Cinderella, and the Rapunzel promos, which I'm super happy about because I didn't think, I didn't really expect to do that well going in, playing Sven's and Lawrence's, but you just play, unrelenting pressure, you refill with Whole New World, and you win games.
Yeah, as Boomy had said previously to me, not in this interview, but he said, it looks like we're playing a whole bunch of draft fodder. And I just was like, when you look at it, ideally it really seems that way. But overall, for the course of this event, Friday I topped one of the main constructed events. Then the main event Saturday, I was able to get enough points for tickets, but I didn't get to the day two. That was this guy's job. And currently I'm in the constructed event for Sunday while we're filming, and I am 3-1-1 with 3 rounds to go.
Sweet. Well, I love the list. It's a really cool deck list overall, and it sounds like you guys are doing pretty well with it. And thanks for sitting down with me and talking to me about the deck.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Explorers. You may recognize my current guest right now. It's Brendan Patrick. Been commentating for Vegas and for past couple. It's been 2 or 3 challenges now that you've been doing the commentary for?
Yeah, I've done them for 2. So honestly, my goal is so I was not planning to commentate. My goal is definitely to play. And as soon as you commentate one, you take a massive opportunity cost of making it to nationals, right? So as soon as I did one, I was like, am I locked in? And then I didn't get Toronto, so I was like, okay, I'm going to play. And I got a new job. I got this new move. So I think while I could show up to the tournament and do well, showing up to the tournament to try to win, but the mindset of winning, the preparation of winning, was not really in the cards for me. So I got this gig, and I'm like, okay, if I get this one, maybe I'll get Seattle, and then maybe I'll get Nationals, because that's the one I really want. So that's kind of the plan. But yeah, casting was really, it's funny because my podcast, Kawa, is really, really wants to do casting. At the very beginning, I was like, I don't want to do it at all. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say no. And then I've not said no.
Yeah, look at you now. You're just doing it. All right, couple things. What is your favorite thing about casting, and do you think it is more stressful to cast or to compete?
It is not stressful to cast at all. Yeah, so what is my favorite thing? I don't know. You just kind of get to be in the atmosphere and in the culture, even if you're not playing. So playing is fun, and playing is the best thing to do. There's no doubt about it. But losing kind of sucks sometimes. And casting, you don't really lose. So there is that. I don't know. I think if you were looking at it as like a fulfillment thing over life, you should probably always be competing, because that's really what you're striving for over anything, over prize money, over just money flat, so like what you would get compensated from doing anything. It is the competition. Like, that's something that goes away later in life as you lose time, you lose hobbies. So yeah, I think that casting, while it's okay, I would rather be competing. I think competing is much more fun, and I think it's more conducive to like when you're 60 years old and your kids like, they whip out their T-Po and you're like, I used to play that card. Like I remember when that. So I don't know. It's been okay. Casting's okay, but my favorite thing about it is that while you don't get to play and you don't get to do what I think is the best part of these tournaments, you still get to feel like you're a part of it.
Yeah, I can't wait. Back in my day, we had a whole new world and to be prepared, and yeah, I can't wait to get old. It sounds like fun. So when you're preparing for a tournament, you're a lot more in tune with the metagame and all the different nuances, card choices, and all that. So as a commentator coming into the event and just kind of what we've seen the metagame from yesterday and where we're at, I think we're on around top 32, almost time for top 16 today. Are you surprised about anything in the metagame? Is it pretty typical of what you were expecting?
Well, I think Amber still sucks, and that's been pretty representative of the day 2 metagames. Honestly, it's all the Emerald decks. The Emerald decks, they pretty much, I think we had almost an identical day 1 metagame to EU, but the 4, 5, 6 are all Emerald decks, and a lot of those overperformed. Emerald, Amethyst overperformed, and Emerald Steel overperformed. A lot of that's that these these groups or testing groups or very good players decided to bring that, and there's more than one of them, so they're occupying those slots. I don't know if the color combinations themselves or in combinations are actually if they would be so good in everybody else's hand, but nevertheless they're overperforming. So Emerald overperformed, Amber Steel really underperformed, and then Ruby Sapphire, despite being what was expected to be the most played deck, overperformed, which is crazy. So it just cannot be denied. It probably is best deck in the format. You can come prepared for it, but it's still going to win. And that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that Ruby Sapphire, best deck in the format. Emerald probably being slept on a bit.
Yeah, I think with the Emerald Steel decks, with the Bucky ban, everybody just kind of threw it out the window. Even the Ruby Sapphire decks and the Ruby Amethyst decks are like cutting way back on like brawls and Medusas and a lot of that kind of stuff. So they have way less answers for Diablo. So Diablo just gets to run rampant. And also like having the option now of like, you had this before, you could shift Diablo, turn to Ursula, whatever, make sure the way is clear. But they also have this Steel Pete that's just like, Diablo's living another turn and it just keeps drawing cards, can get out of hand, and Clarabelle's crazy. Beast Relentless was like a big surprise for me in some of these deck lists. Whereas like before, people were trying to like make these combo decks, deal a bunch of damage and ready with like the Sheriff and the there's like the location that comboed with that. You can kind of go infinite if your opponent had enough willpower on the other side of the board, but they're kind of just running in there as like a makeshift Scar, just like a gain an extra 6 lore. But that's a really interesting deck. Yeah, I mean, not too much of a surprise. I think day 1, but yeah, I agree. Like the day 2 metagame, I think the Emerald Steel deck is doing pretty good.
These all Emerald decks. I mean, Emerald Amethyst, Emerald Steel. Yeah, it's Emerald Amethyst and Emerald Steel. So like Emerald Amethyst was in the finals of EU. It's doing well in day 2 now. So I think that's also a deck that was definitely slept on. And that deck I think is very good against Ruby Amethyst. Like it has this equity against Ruby Sapphire as well to go fast and aggressive. And then against aggressive decks, because of like Lyle, it's just such a controlling attrition-based deck. It's probably slept on a bit. I mean, I know Artabax was like beating the drum on it, but he always does that. So, and also like you look at that deck, you're like, okay, it just auto loses to Amber Steel, which might be the most played deck. Maybe Artabax was right that it has an okay matchup in Amber Steel, but I don't know. You got to take everything he says with a grain of salt. Right?
All right, last question. What is your favorite thing about the color emerald?
Well, at least it's not what it used to be, to be honest, right? I mean, it still has these like ward characters that you can't do anything about. Like even like Prince John, I just don't like. It's just kind of frustrating design. At least you have counterplay where it's like, I just don't draw off my May triggers, or I let them get card advantage. Like it's okay. It's not as bad as Bucky was. The issue, I just have an issue with cards that are designed to both have ward, but are also they don't have to be tapped to get their effect, and they're very cheap. So it's like you just can't answer them. That was the issue with Bucky, is it would come onto the field, it wouldn't tap, it would get value, and because it had ward, there was nothing you can do about it till turn 7 or just like these later turns. And I think that was like very uninteractive. Prince John's not as powerful, but it's a similar gameplay experience. But what I love about it, Emerald is it sucks.
Yeah, I remember we were testing before. It was like just anything Emerald. You're just like despise. I hate the whole color. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate you sitting down and taking some time with us. I think you've been doing an awesome job in the booth. So, I'll let you get back to it. Hey, Explorers. I am here with Milton Garcia, who made day 2 of the main event at the Las Vegas Challenge with a pretty interesting deck, a brew of your own. Just tell us a little bit about the deck.
It's green purple aggro, so very straightforward. You just drop everything down, turn sideways. Super spicy tech of the deck itself is the Queen of Hearts. It's the uninkable 2-drop. I play 4 of them. It's uninkable 2, quest for 2, and when it comes down, it deals damage to a damaged character. It is right there, and it catches people off guard. The quest is just too good, and if they don't know what it is, they swing into my Maleficent 1-drops, take a damage, kills for free, vanishes for free, and then you go for it. It's 26 total uninkables in the deck, so it is very heavy on uninkables. And just in general, it's a really spicy deck, I would say. It caught a lot of people off guard. Almost everything quest for 2, and so it plays very well in the early game.
All right, so one card that kind of stands out to me, pretty much the entire deck makes sense, but this 1-drop action, it calls me. What are we doing with that card?
All right, so my deck is heavy on 2-drops. So a lot of 2-ink characters, right? And also I have my Gathering Knowledge. So sometimes, most games, I'm at 3-ink most of the game. Maybe 4 to get to goat, but if not, I just keep it at 3 just to play. It's a 1-cost song, so I can play the song, draw a card, and just about anything I draw, I can immediately play or Gathering with the other 2. It is just that 1 extra draw power in the deck that for me works really well when I need it. If I draw it in the beginning, mulligan it for the later game when I'm just top decking sometimes, because I don't run any rabbits, no snakes to bounce rabbits. So my only draw is Chernobog, Quest and Pop, or Friends, and most of the time neither of those work, just in general.
So a lot of these aggressive decks that we saw this weekend, actually a big thing with the yellow-purple aggressive decks, like the Amethyst Chromacon's like a big deal, and then a lot of the other Amethyst aggressive decks were playing like Library. What kept you from putting either of those in this list?
I tried the Chromacons, I tried the Library, I tried a bunch of different things. For my specific build, I wanted to go heavy on just characters. Every action or item or anything I played that could possibly be removed, I wanted it to have some value. So if I play anything, I wanted to quest, no matter what it is. And so for me, it was just characters. I was like, if my Pinocchio sticks, if I'm Bonsai, Enchantress, Flynn, if anything sticks, I quest for 2 versus the little tech cards. I paid 3 for the Amethyst or the Emerald Chromacon or whatever it is, or that purple draw 1. Everything, everything just slows the deck down by 1 turn. And if I'm at 3 ink, I can't commit 2 to a thing that's going to draw me a card. I need to go as fast as possible, because most decks, if I let you get to 4 or 5 and I'm not at 14, I'm probably going to lose.
Yeah, and I guess actually, like looking at the list still, the Amethyst Chromacon draws both player 1 card. I think it does make more sense in the Amethyst list, just because like you are playing Flynn and Cursed Merfolk, so you're kind of like undoing the damage that discard did. So that actually makes a lot of sense. And for aggressive decks in Lorcana so far, I really like your game plan. It's just anything I do needs to gain a lore, like at least 1, preferably 2 or 3 with like the Pinocchio. So no, it's a really sweet list. And so what was your final placement, and what all prizes did you win from the main event?
So final placement I think was 28th. So I got 28th overall, which I'm very happy about. And so just in general, the I think it was a great event, just in general. My last matchup was my worst matchup, which was green steel. Just in general, that was the absolute worst thing I could have faced, which was awesome. He was a really good player, so that was great. And then the prizings, I got Let It Go. I got 20 tickets, which they're also cool. Then Cinderella and Rapunzel. So walking away with pretty sweet cards.
No, that's awesome. And Milton also owns one of the coolest hobby stores in DFW, Milton's Collectibles. I frequent there. I love playtesting there. It's good environment, always a good time. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with us. Are you playing anything else today?
No, I think I'm done for today. I'm going to see if I can maybe play some random draft for extra tickets, maybe get some more promo cards. But that's it. I'm kind of tapped out. Thank you, though.
No, I appreciate it. All right, thank you a lot. Hey, Explorers, we're back with another interview. I'm here with Loaf. So now it's Sunday. It's day 2. You did play in the main event, so we'll talk a little bit about that. How did your main event go? What deck did you play? All that good stuff.
My main event didn't go that great. I actually did 5 splits to start the day, so I was exactly 50%. I won every game on the play, lost every game on the draw, and I just decided to take a break after that. I was locked out of day 2, so I figured, recoup, come back, enjoy the time with friends, do a couple drafts, enjoy the limited sphere.
Yeah, and you actually played, we talked a little bit about already, I talked to the producer, John. He was playing the aggro deck, the hyper-aggressive, yellow, purple. And I think I actually just gave him pretty much your exact list that you had put in our chat, except, I cut the befuddles for the Wendy's, but we talked about that a little bit. I don't know if it's right or not. I couldn't figure out when befuddle was good. Wendy was cool, I guess. And John pretty much had the same record, about 50-50. So
There were some people who broke through.
3 of those did make day 2 of that, so hold, please. All right, so you said you did a couple drafts yesterday, and you just got done with a sealed today. I personally haven't played limited in Lorcana at all. I basically know how it works, but what do you like about it, and how's that been going for you this weekend?
Yeah, so
we need quite another set.
and scene.
At 4 p.m.
What? 4 p.m. drafts close? My day's ruined.
Yeah.
So limited for Lorcana. It's not really big right now. It's not as competitive as a scene as the constructed scene is, which I think is a big reason why it's not big. I think if you did have an influx of competitive players come in, do some team drafts, maybe just go to the draft at their local store as opposed to the constructed night, it could really get big. And if they ever did do a challenge for limited, it honestly structures itself. You do 9 rounds sealed day 1, and then top 64. If you win 3 rounds after you draft once, the next is top 8. So you do top 64 draft, top 8 draft. And I mean,
that's it.
They can have that. That's free.
So do you think how the limited in the game works now? Because I've heard some pros and cons, and people are sometimes a little iffy about, the big thing in the draft, or sealed, you're allowed to just play whatever you get. That makes a lot of sense for sealed, honestly, because you're limited to the pool, right? But do you think just being out no color restrictions whatsoever for draft makes sense, or do you think it would improve it at all if they cut it to maybe 4 or a 3 color restriction?
I think no restrictions is better, just because the nature of sealed is you're really looking for a good pool. And if you don't get that good pool, I don't want to say you might complain, but it could lessen the experience for you. So I think being able to just open everything, play with your best cards, and enjoy the event is the most important thing baseline. As far as how competitive it gets, and a lot of people say you're just playing the best cards, but the best cards are relative to what else you have. There might be synergies in there, such as Simba in this set's a 2/4, and whenever it banishes a character in a challenge, you get to draw a card. So having stuff like Hypnotic Strength, or just other support characters like Basil, which is one of the premier 1-drops, I think, you can really have those hidden synergies, and being able to go across all colors to dig those up is really, really important.
And so the sealed that you did just got done with, was it just like all set 5, or was it a mix of anything?
Yeah, I'm Shimmering Skies, 3 rounds, just play 3 rounds, tickets per win.
Okay. So what did your pool look like, and kind of how did your matches go?
Yeah, my
Attention Lorcana players, round 2 for the 2 p.m.
scene.
has now started. The round lasts 50 minutes and will end at 4:37.
I hope you have a clock nearby. Yeah, so my pool was pretty good. It had a good mix of low-end challenge characters. You want to have a couple supports in there because Limited has a very big emphasis on what the board looks like. A lot of times, you know what's going to trade in a constructed game, but here you really have the ability to go wide, and you have to make your opponent wonder, like, can I quest here, or will I just lose my whole board? My pool was pretty, I would say it's slightly above average. It wasn't anything to write home about. I didn't have any like bonsais or Moana to really like take advantage of the board early, but my deck was scrappy, and it was scrappy enough to get a 3-0 in this event.
So for someone who's never played Limited or like sealed in Lorcana so far, like what do kind of the games in general look like? Is it a lot of the times like someone might have an aggressive start and they've run away with it, or is it just the majority of the games kind of come down to this like mid-game kind of slugfest, slow down, and whoever figure out like the combat math better usually comes out ahead?
Yeah, so when I first started playing Limited in this game, it very much was the run over situation. Those were all the games just because people really didn't know what they were doing. I mean, you even mentioned it. I had one opponent in my first draft ever. They just built 2 colors, and their deck was not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think at first, if it's a kind of a casual scene, you'll see a lot of people just get run over. But yeah, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Evasive, the stocks on Evasive and Limited are just through the roof.
Yeah.
But it all goes back and circles back to deck building, because if you can't answer evasive creatures in your deck, you're going to have issues.
Yeah.
And so there are times where the boards go really wide and you're waiting for the first person to make a move, break the standstill. You can have an aggressive draw and go away with it, but there's a lot more interaction than people would think.
Cool. Well, I appreciate the insight. It sounds like fun. I've got to try draft or sealed at some point. I've been playing since the game came out, and I've still never done it. Not because I don't want to. I don't know. It just hasn't happened. Yeah. But sounds like fun. Anyway, thanks for chatting with us about Limited. Yeah.
Pleasure. Glad to see you.